Welcome everyone to this information session on LIP data needs ahead of CFP 2024. My name is Doug Woltoff. I'm one of the co-leads of the National LIP Secretariat Project. We work in partnership with the Community Data Program to support the data needs of local immigration partnerships across the country. Before we get started here, I recognize that we are coming together from various points across Turtle Island. I just want to recognize that I myself am located in Jasper, Alberta, which is on Treaty 6 and 8 territory, also the Jasper House Métis District. It's traditionally the home of the Denesa, Assiniboine, Winawak, Nahiawak, Anishinaabe, Secwepemc, Stoney Nakoda, Mountain Métis, and Métis people. And I want to make sure that we all take the time in our respective locations to consider and reflect on the land that we occupy, work, and play on. If you would like to, then please feel free to share a land acknowledgement of your own in the chat. So we are here today to learn from our friend and colleague at the Community Data Program, Mike Diter, about the possibilities for accessing and using data for your CFP applications. I want to extend a thanks to all of those who completed the survey in advance of this session to let us know what your data needs are and what your burning questions are. It helps us very much to add direction and focus to the session. I want to thank my colleague Satya Nanya for pulling the session together and doing all the hard work to support all the LIPs across the country with their data needs and the research working group. I'm going to turn things over. I just want to let you know also that the session is recorded and will be posted to our website, thelipsecretariat.ca. So if for any reason you have to step out early, or if you have colleagues that would like to view the session, they can do so as soon as the session gets uploaded. I'm going to turn things over to Mike Diter, and we'll have a presentation from him, and we'll have plenty of opportunity for back and forth conversation toward the latter half of the session. So with that, Michael, I will turn things over to you.
Thanks, Doug. I guess I assume everyone can hear me. Yeah, I was having a bit of microphone trouble before, but everything seems fine.
Able to hear you.
Great. It's always nice working with this group. We've had a lot of success. This was a pilot project, this collaboration that turned into an ongoing successful collaboration. We since I guess around 2019. I'll be walking you today through the CDP Immigration Data Portal. We've gone through this in the past, so it'd be a fairly quick run through. I'd like to have a lot of today focus on some of the data products and leave a lot of time for questions. And I'm happy to stick around and answer questions and work through some data issues. I would be happy even to, pull open some files, extract stuff. We can try to even create some products, and I can make it available on our server. But I'll start with giving an overview of what we have to offer, recent data products that have come out, and hopefully resources that are available that can help you with your upcoming call for proposal. I didn't put a lot into this presentation. This is really just for reference later and to give you an idea of the agenda. I think I'll spend most of today's presentation just sharing my screen from the website and from some of the products that we have. So if you come to our website, for those of you that are members of the Immigration Sector Network, then this is typically a good place for you to start when you come to our site. Some of you may be members of your local consortium, which gives you access to the full data catalog. we have sort of a separate immigration data portal for this network, which contains only immigration-related data sets. So a potential point of confusion, if you come to the immigration data portal, perhaps from the portals menu, this find data button here, this goes to our full catalog, and not everything here is available to you if you are not a full member of your local consortium. But from here, you can access data that relates to your work. So just a quick run through the, we have this interactive Tableau infographic that is just really meant to be a storefront display. I mean, if you can find useful data in it, that's great. But otherwise, a lot of this is summarized in other data products that we have. And we try to immediately draw your attention to the data catalog that we have available for you here. When you click on this, it'll open up a new window that takes you to the immigration data portal. Before we go through that, I'll just quickly run through some of the other resources on the page. If you're already a member and don't have an account, you can do so here. I just open this in a new. Looks a little something like this. There's some resource guides available to you here, video orientations, a list of previous webinars recorded and put on our site, and then a list of some of the infographics and dashboards that are available to you. When you go to the immigration data portal catalog, you can search using these filters. I would encourage you, just very quickly, a lot of the immigration data portal has about 5 pages in it of products. So you may find it's easy enough to find what you're looking for just scrolling down the list. And these filters they're the same filters that apply to our full catalog. So that could be misleading if you see something about building permits, Canadian business counts. You can get information on these data products, but you won't be able to download them. A lot of what is available to you is available from the 2021 census or from the longitudinal immigration database. And those are where we've gotten most of the data that we've made available to this network. So I encourage you, if you're looking for something, you can just look in here under census or IMDb. The title here, needs to match text that's found exactly in this title. So if it's not in one of these titles, then it doesn't produce anything. And it's always good to know that if you are using multiple filters here, then your search results have to match both filters. So if you look for something from the 2021 census, but you put 2015 in here, it's not going to find anything. Looking for a product, once you've found what you're interested in, you can just click on the title to bring you to that catalog's entry. It's always good to read the description here to read the metadata, because there's typically some useful information here for you. The description, speaks for itself. It'll tell you a little bit about what's inside. These dimensions can give you a picture of what is exactly in the table. So, for example, what are the measures that are in here? This IMDb table has a dimension called measures that provides, the counts of people with employment earnings, counts of people with wages, salaries, and commissions, and so forth, and various means and medians. These are the variables that are included in this category dimension. So that gives you a little idea of how to look into what is in a table before you download it. And then you can always you add it to your cart here. If you find what you're looking for, go to your checkout, and then you can just download the file. It's just going to take a sec by clicking on this link. So if we go back, let me find something that has here, target group profile by immigration and citizenship status. Sometimes you'll need to choose the appropriate geography that you're interested in. For many of you, you may be interested in your LIP's custom geography. If your LIP has a custom area, then Sathya would have submitted that to us, and we've submitted those geographies to Statistics Canada, and they gave us certain tables at those geographies. And so you can find your LIP custom geographies by selecting custom geos. I think if we find where, when it comes up, the files are typically labeled. I'll save it here. That might take a second. The files are typically labeled as the LIP custom geography. Perhaps it's better if I just go straight to the file list so you can see what it would look like. So if this might be what the file looks like that you get. Immigration CG at the end stands for custom geographies, and you'll see that custom geographies for all of our members are available here, split up by region, the East, Ontario, and the West, but the LIPs are indicated with this suffix. And so those will be the files that pertain to you. However, some of you may be fine if your LIP uses the census division or census subdivision as a geography. So census division being like a region or a county, census subdivision is a municipality, then this may be sufficient if you don't have a particular custom geography for your LIP. And I believe that a lot of the LIPs are simply aggregations of the custom geographies for the LIPs are mostly aggregations of census divisions or census subdivisions. I see there's a number of chats, a number of comments in the chat. So Sathya, feel free to jump in if there's any questions that I need to answer. I'm happy to take them as they come up. But you may be interested in looking at census tract data if you are in a tracted community and want to get sort of neighborhood level data. it's always, if you are in a community where there is a consortium and they've submitted custom geographies for neighborhoods, that may be of interest to you for looking at neighborhood level data. But it all depends on what your local consortium may have submitted. And so this is a, the target group profile by immigration citizenship status. It comes as an IVT file. So when you open it, it's going to look like this. In Beyond 2020, which, we have some resources available showing you how to download the software, how to use Beyond 2020. I don't think I'll go into this right now. We can save time at the end if anyone would like to go over how to use Beyond 2020. It's not really intuitive, but it's fairly quick to learn how to move things around, just clicking and dragging and dropping. And searching is, again, not intuitive, but not too hard to learn. So you can check our resources if you're interested in learning more about that, or we can talk at the end. But because this is not entirely accessible, intuitive, we do have other means for making the data available to our members. And one of those that we've been relying on heavily is to use the software Tableau. And this creates visualizations, dashboards, infographics. So we've recently uploaded an immigration profile dashboard to the catalog. So if any of you have downloaded this before this session, it's worth noting that we just, in the last half hour, I think, updated this with data on non-permanent residents. So it might be worth downloading it again. So when you are using something in Tableau, it's going to look a little something like this. Similar to Adobe Acrobat, you don't need a licensed version of Tableau in order to open this. They have a reader. So this is Tableau Reader, which lets you consult and work with the data a little bit. You can't make any edits, but you can still use the data. So on the catalog page, you'll see there's a place for you to download Tableau Reader, and you will frequently have to update it. Unfortunately, for ever you're using it, they come up with a new version every 1 or 2 months. But it's not too hard to install. Come up with for your group. The intention was Satya and Doug had provided us a list of variables that they'd wanted to include. And pretty much all of this comes from the target group profile that I just showed you, with little exception. And we will be updating this in the new year with housing data that we don't yet have, but should be coming soon. Hopefully, not at custom geographies just yet, but hopefully soon.
Mike, could I interrupt with a couple of questions from the chat?
Yeah, absolutely, please.
Great. The first one being, will there be infographics available with 2021 census data? And the second, is there a cost associated with Tableau?
So there's no cost associated with getting Tableau Reader. So you can, from this catalog entry, put this here if you like. You'll see that Tableau Reader can be downloaded from this page. Again, like Adobe Acrobat, you can get licensed versions of Tableau that allow you to edit files like this, but it's not necessary, obviously, and it's somewhat expensive. And yes, so this is from the 2021 census. After this, the data that we'll be adding to this will also be from the 2021 census. And it'll feature data on households and families. When you get a profile based on immigration status, those data are at the person level because you're asking for data about people with certain immigrant status. So you get data on their housing or family situation. We need to define what an immigrant household is or a recent immigrant household, and we request those data special from Statistics Canada. So we'll be getting those data at standard geographies, possibly before the end of the calendar year, but certainly in January. And we'll be getting those data, the housing and family data for recent immigrant households at custom geographies, so at LIP custom geographies. That's not certain. Hopefully before the end of March. That's about as good an estimate as I can give you. It's not clear when we'll be doing the next custom geo run for these data. So I think I answered those two questions. So this, I'll just quickly run through how you would use this product. Hopefully everyone can read this. One of the first things I have to do when I am using this product is I have to change the display on my computer, change the size of text and apps. I go into settings, and typically I have everything at 125%, but you have to change it to 100%. So everything's looking just a little bit small for me right now, but it means that text on here doesn't get cut off. So if you download this and find that some of the text is cut off, then you may need to change the settings on your computer and then shut down Tableau Reader and reopen it. So it starts just showing by default, it's probably the first in the list for this Abbotsford Local Immigration Partnership. Actually, where it starts is on the welcome page, which gives a little blurb on what's contained here and how to use it, what the different data sources are, and links to connect to them. On the dashboard, you can choose the level of geography that you're interested in. So if you want data for your local immigration partnership, then you stay on this level of geography. And then you see that you have these choices to choose from. If you want, you can just start typing in text, Vernon, and when you click to select the Vernon Local Immigration Partnership, then the data in the dashboard changes for that geography. So similarly, if you're interested in, let's say, data, I am located in Montreal, And so I'll look at the island of Montreal. You can see the data has changed to match the geography that you've selected. So let's pick out another local immigration partnership. This is for St. John. We can just use this as an example when we go through what's shown here. So this was just meant to be, this isn't going to change a whole lot based on the geography that you select. We just wanted to have some context showing you by province, the number of immigrants, recent immigrants, and non-permanent residents. The rest of this is specific to the geography being shown. So for St. John's Local Immigration Partnership, it's giving you the breakdown of population for recent immigrants and other immigrants by period of immigration, broken down by admission category, median age. We have various age groups, again, by total population, immigrants, recent immigrant, non-permanent residents, knowledge of official languages for those 4 groups again. You can view the top 10 countries of birth. We had just a discussion about this earlier. When you see, it's showing you other places of birth in Asia or other places of birth in Africa, these other places of birth, there is no additional detail, unfortunately, about these respondents in the data. It appears as this other places of birth. So they've rolled up some of these into those categories. So this tab, deals with demographics and language, so countries of birth, and it'll also show the 10 languages most often spoken at home. And so you'll see it split out. Unfortunately, where you have multiple responses given, the census data only provides the counts of they're all rolled up into the official language and a non-official language. So, you could have a lot of people, a lot of non-permanent residents that speak English and Punjabi at home, but that detail is lost a little bit as they're rolled up into this category. So it adds a little bit of complication in interpreting the data, but you can rank single responses easily enough. I think that's about all to show you on this page. The second tab deals with employment, education, and income. So here you'll get the median after-tax income for the various cohorts, prevalence of low income. These were the 2 lines that had been requested. This is the low income measure after tax, and this is the low income cutoff before tax. Labor force participation and unemployment rate. You can see highest level of education for these cohorts, and similarly the top 5 industries by employment for immigrants, recent immigrants, and non-permanent residents. And that's all the data that you'd find in this dashboard. So once you have this, you can also export some of these data. You can take these and blow them out. Sorry, I know you can export these data. I'm just having a hard time finding naturally. Go to the sheet. Yeah, so it offers you this option to export it as a PowerPoint slide. You can choose whether you want just this view, specific sheets from the dashboard. If we just choose select all and export, and it gives you this as graphics, which again, it's taken everything. So some of these are just points, data points that are listed. But anywhere that you have a chart, you can get it as a graphic in PowerPoint. So does anyone have any questions about the immigration profile, this dashboard? Otherwise, I thought we could go through some of the other resources that we have available on the website. I know we had talked about looking at data from the longitudinal immigration database. This is a product that also is available from our immigration data portal. If you look up data analysis and visualization tools, you can access the IMDb iCare dashboard here. My colleague Jamie Carrick, who put together a pretty good tutorial video describing how to use it. It's worth noting I think I have two versions of. Okay, the immigration portal open. Here's the iCare one. Again, you can view the tutorial here. And the dashboard is here. The dashboard is a good way to manipulate the data if you're not comfortable using Beyond 2020. However, this data was made, this product was made using data up to the 2019 tax year. However, we do have data from the IMDb with 2020 data. So this this is useful, I guess, to show you, give you a good idea of what's in the IMDb. If you need more current data, then you'll have to wait until we update this, or you can go straight to the IMDb tables. So again, you would download these tables from our website. We have given webinars specifically on the IMDb. I'm in the middle of something, sweetheart. The IMDb, but just to give a quick overview, it combines data from the IRCC on the immigrant population and tax filer data. So it has linked records from those immigrants who file taxes to the IRCC records, and has actually tracked these people over time to give a longitudinal portrait of economic outcomes and mobility. Those are the two main areas that you can track with the IMDb. With the tax filer data, you can get such variables as median income, employment earnings, wages and salaries, incidence of social assistance, employment insurance, and then you can track mobility looking at, using the IRCC data, showing where their intended destination was and comparing that to where they file their taxes. So you can compare their intended destination to their residence. So I won't go too much into how to use this dashboard. We can later if someone has questions, but we do have, it's just a little 7-minute video on how to use it. If you need to go and get the data out of one of the IVT tables, then this is what it would look like. This is with the 2020 data. We will be updating these data, and we'll be updating the IMDb dashboard as well in 2024. One of the tricky things with using this data is that you have these two time periods. So you have your tax year, which is essentially the data that you're interested in, and the admission year is your cohort. So this table rolls up all immigrants who arrived from 2000 to 2009 as one cohort, and then everyone after that date has their own individual year. So if you're interested in recent immigrants, then you will need to add up the data from different cohorts. So this gives you an idea of, if we look at someone who arrived in 2015, you can see that the median total income for someone who arrived in 2015 seemed to rise steadily over the years, 2016 to 2020. Median employment earnings. It does seem like all of these measures increased. And you can start breaking this out by, if we are interested in median total income, we could look at how this has changed over the years based on their admission category or world area of birth. Alternatively, based on the settlement services they received, age and sex. And of course, this is showing for all of Canada. We can look at this for specific LIP geographies. So in Greater Terrace, the data appear to have been suppressed at this level. That's because we only have 25 people filing taxes who were admitted in 2015. And that cohort only had 20 people filing taxes again in 2019 and 2020. So this shows the different cohorts being admitted in Greater Terrace over the years and their incomes. That's just a really quick run through of how you would use the longitudinal immigration database to track, in this case, economic outcomes. It's also possible so these are the iCare tables cross income and mobility outcomes with counts of people who receive settlement services. And then there are also just the core tables. This doesn't include data from the iCare module, from the settlement service delivery module, but has some additional dimensions such as knowledge of English and French, pre-admission experience. One thing to note this came up recently, a question about using the IMDb to track delivery of settlement services over the years. Unfortunately, these data show you anyone that has received settlement services at any time. Like the year that's given here does not necessarily mean, why don't we find someone, so everyone in the Greater Terrace LIP did not receive settlement services. Use a different, if we take Metropolitan Vancouver, you can see you have the counts of, so this is all filers, all admission categories. So this shouldn't be interpreted as counts of immigrants that received settlement services in 2014. This is actually anyone this is the admission year 2014. this doesn't necessarily mean that immigrants who landed in 2014, 11,730 of them received settlement services in 2017. It could be any year that they receive settlement services. It's if they received settlement services in 2015 or 2016, they would still be included in this count, because this is actually, the point of this is to be able to track their economic outcomes or mobility based on whether they receive settlement services or not. The table will be much more complicated and larger if it was broken down by the year that the settlement service was delivered. And I understand that's probably a variable that you'd be interested in, knowing the numbers of settlement service, numbers of immigrants receiving settlement services and how that's changed over the years. You can't get that with this, unfortunately. And so this is something that I think we will have to try to get from IRCC in a request to them. We could do it through the IMDb, but the tables would be they would just be large and unwieldy. You're combining 3 time elements: the admission year, the tax year, and the year that settlement services were delivered. So actually, thanks to Dan in Waterloo for catching this, for bringing this up and catching this. So this would be something that, I think we'll request from IRCC, getting a picture of settlement service delivery over the years. Which is maybe a good segue, if there's no questions about the longitudinal immigration database, to look at another group of tables that we have in the catalog, which are the IRCC permanent resident admission tables. And so this is new this year, and I should preface this by saying that I don't have a ton of experience with these tables. What we ordered is summarized in each catalog entry. And at the time, it took about 1.5 years to get these data, and there was a lot of different tables being requested. Again, having the data split out by different dimensions, IRCC had indicated that to split out the year that settlement services were delivered would make the table a bit large and unwieldy and would cause a lot of suppression. So the tables that we do have from IRCC to that effect are just sort of a snapshot. It's just a snapshot of who received settlement services in 2021. And it would be great to get some feedback from you on this, because I would like to update this order and not necessarily we would be updating these tables with 2023 data, but we don't need to get the same tables again. And I'm guessing that it would probably be more interesting to perhaps cut out some of the cross tabulations, like age group, gender, service type, and landing year, where we would keep service type, and look at number of immigrants receiving settlement services over the year, rather than just over the years, rather than just a snapshot of 2021. So that table looks a bit like this. This is the census division version of it. IRCC doesn't have the capacity to produce tables in beyond 2020 format. Maybe some of you are happy for that if you're not that keen on beyond 2020. It is quite useful for sorting through data like this where you want to, define exactly what cross tabulations you want. Here we have everything together in one table. It's not always the easiest to read. I've got a little bit of a diagram here showing you that how to read these tables if you're going to be using them. It's important to note that, why don't we go somewhere other than Newfoundland and Labrador where everything is zeros, and get away from, go to a more recent year, like (2021). I'm assuming, because these are settlement services that were delivered in 2021, but you have a 2022 cohort here. So I'm assuming that this is those with pre-admission experience who received settlement services before becoming a permanent resident who received these. So if you want to know how to read these, so the New Brunswick total here is a total for everything up above it. So so New Brunswick is the sum of all of these lines. The sum is essentially at the bottom. So these rows here are all applied to York. If we go over and see what, not a lot of information from previous years. So this would be permanent residents having landed in 2017, received needs and assets assessments and referrals as a service. In York, there were 415 of them. And this is the breakdown of the different immigration categories that receive those services. The main thing to remember is just that I don't find it that clear to read, but the number at the bottom here is the sum of everything above it. So these data are for Westmoreland, if that makes it a little more clear. And so you see we have other tables from IRCC. Intended destination, country of birth, immigration category, gender. Some of these are just basic profiles. Again, where we do have settlement service data included, they just provided us with a snapshot of settlement services that were delivered in 2021. But it would be good to, I'm happy to receive feedback on how we can retool the request in the next iteration of these tables. So that is what we received from IRCC. I don't know if anyone wants to have a look at other versions, other tables in this group. This is when you download these tables, comes out looking a little bit like this. Obviously, you've got the CSD, the census subdivision level tables, and census division. So these are I see if it's it said NOC, so that'll be occupations by the National Occupation Classification. It's just going to take a second to open it. Not a lot happening in, this is going to be Newfoundland. Let's take a look at Nova Scotia. And this gives a split by gender of immigrants according to their NOC, the National Occupation Classification. So does anyone have any questions about, I see there's a number of chats. Why don't I?
Yeah, Mike, we've been getting a lot of them and trying to address a few, but there's one I hear that I think would be a really good one for you.
Yeah.
From Megan. Do any of these data sets and tools allow us to compare intended landing destination to place where settlement services were received for a given year?
No, I don't. Where it was received, unfortunately, no. Let me.
Would, though, I guess a related question, would any of the tax filer data in the IMDb allow us to get a sense of migration beyond the intended place of landing?
Yes, you can get mobility, and it's not clear where the settlement service was delivered, unfortunately. So you can look at those that received settlement services. And, this can indicate those who I guess if we want to look at just those who stayed in their intended geography and received settlement services, and that's shown here. This is summarizing, this is for all landing groups. You can look at specific cohorts if you want. But no, unfortunately, it's not telling you where they received. And that is an issue that I know you're are interested in knowing.
There was another related question there.
Service.
Could we have a quick look at the LIT mobility dashboard?
Sure. So you want to look at the dashboard, or you want to look at the data?
I think the question was specific to the dashboard. Megan, if you want to clarify that, please do so in the chat or just speak it out.
Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. Yeah, I wanted to take a quick look at the dashboard, but thanks, Mike, for your response to that, and Doug for digging into the question. just to save typing it in the chat, I'm curious to hear from other lips how you are tracking and communicating secondary migration to your community. So if there are ideas for that, love to hear it.
Yes, you can. I mean, you can track in migration. You can track you can see those that moved into a particular geography over the years, and this is relative to where they indicated that their intended destination was. So that stays the same, and then if they move back to that, place, then they're no longer counted as sort of internal migrants for that year. But this is one way to look at it. And again, if you need more let me just see retention rate gives the sort of the opposite side of that. If you want to know how many people are staying in your lip, this is showing for each landing group for each tax year, how many immigrants stay. I think this is the frame that you'd be interested in if you're interested in seeing who's coming into your geography. And we did have one that gave a somewhat detailed look at this. Is this table 1? Core tables. Just want to make sure I have the right one. Where you can look at where exactly people are coming from.
Just as you're pulling that up, Mike, I'll just say to everyone, I think we're firmly in the question and answer period of the session now. So if folks have questions, please just put them into the chat, and Satya and I will sort of queue them up and make sure that they get to Mike.
So here, if the residence is the geography that you would be interested that you are in. So Megan, I feel like I can almost remember, were you in Vancouver? No.
Oh, Valley, Alberta.
Okay. So we could see some oh, let's get rid of the measures just for now. So this would show you over the years just how many people have come from these different geographies. And this is from one, everything here is defined in lip geographies. or as a province or a region. So this is, of course, this is showing you those immigrants that arrived in 2000 to 2019 in British Columbia and Yukon who moved into Bow Valley. But if you want to see all of it, then you have to break this out into sort of expand the dimensions here. The table gets a bit unwieldy if you need to track all. You just go through it one at a time. So this is immigrants that landed in these various geographies and moved into Bow Valley. Those who landed in 2000 to 2009, and in 2000, those who landed in 2010, 2011, 12. And we need to sum those up to know how many moved from each of these areas into your lip. This was actually, they gave this table to us a bit by mistake, but there were some lips that asked us to keep it. So we have any other questions? Yeah, I see this comment from Dan about seeing where immigrants moved to and from being very helpful.
Mike, do you have any insights on how this data should be cited? I would think that if you cite it as, whether it's census data, for example, census data could be cited as census data just with indication that it was accessed through the community data program.
We always like for people to indicate that the data were received, through the community data program.
So I think like in a typical citation format, you would just include access through and then the URL.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Patricia. These are a couple ways you could do it. Any other questions that came up? Yeah.
Maybe are there any other particular tables that people would like another overview of? Maybe more of the iCare tables, just to have another look at that. I know there was quite a lot of interest in that.
Yes, the other mobility tables from the IMDb don't go into the specifics of where people are moving from. It just looks at a specific region, lip. And you can just get a picture of the retention rate. Retention rate for different cohorts. This is for different cohorts in 2014, or you can come on, look at the retention rate, the different cohorts over time. You can see that here. So those who came in 2000, 2009, not a lot of them stayed. But in the short term, it does look like for Jasper, a bit higher retention. Obviously, more immigrants who indicated that they were going to Jasper will stay there in the tax year that you're looking at. Look at a similar table for eye care. You can look to see whether service delivery had any impact on retention rate for a particular cohort for a particular year. So for each of these admission years, this is showing you the retention rate over time for those that receive settlement services. If we compare this to those who did not receive settlement services, now the retention rate is higher in Greater Victoria for those who didn't receive settlement services. It seems. Look over the years. All right. Seems almost general. And then you can look at this same information by admission category. If you need counts, you can you don't need to use a rate, you can see all those who stayed in intended geography. I don't know if this is helping, watching me sort of flip through these tables to show you how you can use and manipulate them and the types of information that are in there. But if anyone has any specific questions about their...
Did have one more question in the chat, Mike. There was a question about mapping data and a suggestion from Dan that that censusmapper.ca is a useful tool for mapping census data. In addition to that, do you have any other suggestions for folks on how they might be able to map some of the data here?
Yeah, mapping, I'm assuming if you're interested in mapping, it's because you want to map things out within your community. I don't expect that you're talking about mapping out lips across a province or that is, again, Census Mapper is probably a good way to go. Statistics Canada has some, I don't know if it's going to be that useful to watch me try to navigate Statistics Canada's website to look at their mapping resources because I don't have it offhand and I would need to search around on the website, but I know that they do have some variables mapped. Otherwise, yeah, you're looking at getting like neighborhood level data. So that's the longitudinal immigration database tables. Unless you're mapping out cities, and I don't think that's probably what you want to do. You want to be looking at data within a city. The IMDb tables aren't going to be useful for that because they're only available at the census subdivision and census division level. But if you have any mapping skills, that my suggestion, then you could download either DA level data or census tract or ADA level data, and we use QGIS to map specific variables. But Census Mapper, Statistics Canada, they have some, they're not often very cross-tabulated. Like you can't drill down that much, but they would have some resources. You're just going through some of the resources that we have, so I've highlighted the IMDb and the census. We made the target group profile by immigration and citizenship status available to this group. There are other target group profiles that we have, and we haven't made the complete target group profile available to this network, but we did extract the relevant immigration related variables and we put them in this file. So these are all, if you're looking for ways to cross-tabulate the various immigration variables with, say, the different low-income lines or visible minority population, then within your LIP, then you can do that with this product. So I have this open here. So when you open it up, you can see that this comes from the visible minority target group profile, so which would give a profile of various visible minority categories. We've taken the citizenship and immigrant status and place of birth data out of those profiles and made it available to you. So it's just one more cross-tabulation for some of these variables, if that's at all helpful. Just saw that and wanted to make sure I pointed it out. Any other questions?
There is a tricky question from Megan in the chat about temporary foreign worker arrivals, trying to find data on temporary foreign worker arrivals by program. I'm not sure that we have that in the database, but
we don't have any temporary residence data. We do have, this is, and again, thanks to Dan from Waterloo, who helped to put this request has gone in to IRCC to get these data at the census division and census subdivision level. And so we've requested these 21 tables. So let me see, by program, is that in here? skill level. It's been a while since I've looked at this now, I believe. By program and international mobility program. Work permit holders by program. So unfortunately, this will not come in time for your proposals, and hopefully it won't take a year and a half that it took for us to get the last batch of data from IRCC, but yeah, so far things have moved a little faster than they did in the last round with the last request. So that maybe will be available for you the next time you're putting this proposal together.
Right. Megan, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, thanks so much. That's really helpful. I just want to make sure I understand. So Dan, you requested a custom tabulation from IRCC just for Waterloo, and then shared your variables with CDP, who are now making a request for all LIP custom geographies. Is that right?
Not LIP custom geographies, unfortunately. This is just census division and census subdivision.
Oh,
so I'm
okay.
requesting all of these tables for all census divisions and all census subdivisions in Canada where the data exists, and if they're not suppressing it.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I would just to say I've asked them before about rolling up some of these data into LIP custom geographies, because they are mostly aggregations of census divisions and census subdivisions, so they could possibly do it, and they didn't do it last time, and I will just keep asking them, but they don't have, their production capacity isn't at all like StatsCan, so I'm not sure that they would be able to deliver that for LIPs.
I see.
For the LIP custom geos.
Yeah. I'm asking because we're just beginning a needs assessment process, which obviously won't be done for this call for proposals. But do you think it would be worthwhile for us, as Bow Valley, we're one of those amalgamations of CSDs and some postal codes too, I think. But would it be worthwhile for us to request that custom tabulation using the variables that were used in Waterloo to see if that's beneficial at LIP custom geography, see how worthwhile it is?
I'm sure it's beneficial. Like, I'm sure any LIP would rather get their data rolled up than to have to do it themselves, particularly because a lot of the data, they do the random rounding, so everything is rounded to the closest 5. So that already is gonna, when you roll that up, is gonna play with the accuracy, and then anything that is suppressed, you can get around suppression sometimes by these aggregations, but so that's another reason to try to get it at custom geographies. And perhaps for the one-off request from Bow Valley, they may be willing to do it. Can you add up these census subdivisions for us and provide these tables? They didn't do it for us based on a number of, with a larger request, but doesn't mean we won't keep asking.
I hear you. I think I want to try it. Dan, I'll connect with you after or Mike, and then I'll connect with you to see what you requested.
Yeah, it's essentially, this list. There's not a whole lot.
Okay.
Other detail to provide.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, we're coming up just about to our planned time for this session. I'll repeat again that this recording will be put up on our NLS website, thelipsecretariat.ca. And so I would encourage you, if you want to review anything, to have a look at that or to point your colleagues in that direction. If there are outstanding questions about any of this, or you come across other questions, you can reach out to us through the website or through our emails, and we will try to find answers for you through Michael and through other partners. But unless there are other, there's Mike's email. I'll throw mine up there as well. But unless there are any other sort of pressing questions or concerns at the moment, Satya, I'll open it to you if there's anything else you think is left unsaid.
Yeah, Mike, can you stop sharing? Yeah, the only thing I would say is that some of you may not, your stock turnaround, or you don't know that this account you have, or if you have facing any account related issues, please feel free to get in touch with me, and I posted my email there. And or if you have any difficulty in accessing the data, you don't know how to access the data if you're new, already a number of you reached out to me by email. And so if you have anything, please email me. I'll be able to support you, whatever that you need to take it further.
Great, thanks, Satya. A quick question from Jana. How long it might take to get a custom data request from IRCC? I think the answer is probably quite long. Does anyone want to expand on that?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm the best. Like, my request was for all of Canada and for numerous years. So going forward, it may be, as we just update in 1 year at a time, may not be as bad, but mine took a year and a half. I did hear from Andrea Dort in Peel region that she had similar experience at times, requesting data that, it would lie for weeks or a couple months, and then she would get a question, she would answer it, and then the follow-up question from IRCC would come, a month or two later. But I with a more targeted request, maybe you go a little faster. I don't think it's going to take a year and a half to.
Maybe not a year and a half, but probably quite tricky to get that fulfilled in time for the CFP, which is due at the end of January.
Yeah. Good luck to everyone with that.
You'll come in from Megan there about agreeing on a plan for requests, so we're not inundating them. I think that is a great function for the research working group to kind of pull that together and align lips on their requests for specific tables. So great point there. I think we'll probably call it to a close now. I just want to thank everyone for coming. Thanks very much to Mike for the great presentation, and to Satya for pulling it all together. Once again, I want to thank everyone who took the time to complete the survey. We try very hard not to overburden you all with surveys, but it is very important for us to hear from you so that we can direct our work in a way that is most helpful to all of the lips. So thanks very much for that. To everyone celebrating, I hope you have happy holidays.